There was like some length to when that can fizz.
Didn't hear
It
it.
was long. Oh, yeah, that's right. You never hear it. Stupid sound cancellation. But so today we have our first arranger sit down. Last season, after drum corps was over, we sat down with like 5 or 6 different arrangers and stuff and watched the books that they wrote, talked about it, dove into it. But yeah, I'm excited. Well, I'll just jump right in here in a second. Welcome to the Aged Out Podcast, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Fantini, and with me as always is
Evan Worrell.
And comment, like, subscribe on the YouTube video. Let us know what you thought about Phantom Regiment from this season. Head over to Facebook or Instagram and give us a follow there so you never miss an update or any new pieces of content that we put out. And patreon.com or the join button on YouTube to support us financially, or go to agedoutpodcast.com now. You can grab yourself a logo t-shirt or logo stickers. And then, of course, we have the Aged Out Fundamentals playlist at this point. Auditions are basically tomorrow, more or less, for the indoor season.
For some indoor groups, they are Sunday.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Who? Free advertisement.
Freedom Percussion, I'm pretty sure, has their audition Sunday.
I'm about to call Mike Davis and yell at him.
I talked to him the other day.
But yeah, the fundamentals playlists, build your consistency, your chops, super easy, takes like 13 minutes a day. There's 5 different tracks there now. We'll plan on adding to them over time. But all right, you ready to get this thing rolling? We'll introduce the guests and
Yeah. Joining us for year 2 is Mr. Matt Penland. What's up, Matt? Yeah, and we wanted to bring in, we're always saying that we need to have more front ensemble conversation, which we are obviously very open to, but wanted to bring in the other half of the dynamic duo, Mr. Tyler Sammons. Hey, Tyler, what's up?
Yo, guys, thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. For anybody that's interested in Matt's bio, we can catch up, but I guess, a lot of this bio, we'll get into Tyler and ask like your kind of background a little bit and how you and Matt got hooked up, which is very similar, I'd say, drum corps lineage per se. But yeah, tell us where you're from, just kind of like where you got your start, how you guys met up,
Sure.
all that.
So I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, near San Antonio, Texas, a little town called Seguin. I'm very much a product of Texas band. I feel like I'm one of those kids. I did all region band, all state band, solo and ensemble, all that stuff. And then the way me and Matt met was when I was in high school, Matt was in high school. We both ended up marching in the Crossmen together in 2006. I found Crossman because I had an instructor that taught there, and there was a timpani spot, so I kind of came in a little late, and Matt was on the quad line. And then we continued together at Crossman in 2007. And at that point, I had started music school at North Texas, and then basically that summer, me and a couple other North Texas guys convinced Matt to come to Denton. So after he graduated high school, he came to Denton. And then for some reason, we didn't march together in 2008. I marched Phantom.
I was still in high school.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I
You're
marched
at Crown.
Yeah, I did the local group. I grew up in North Carolina, close by.
Yeah. So, he marched Crown, and then we marched together 2009, 2010. All that time we were roommates at North Texas together. We literally lived in the same like 10-foot square box together, and that's where we wrote our first shows together. We did North Texas Drumline together, Phantom Regiment. We taught at the Colony. Didn't we teach at the Colony High School together? So we had a lot going on back in those days. But that's kind of our origin story of where we met each other and started writing together.
So were you guys like sharing a computer in like a dorm room? Like you write this, I'll write this.
Totally. Yeah. I think I put like I got like my student loan check and went out and bought like a MacBook or an iMac. And we got virtual drumline, we got Sibelius, and just kind of workshopped it. It didn't take us long before we started. We still, I think the first thing we wrote was actually, it's still really cool. So it's never seen the light of day, but maybe.
Well, at least that investment of that student loan check probably paid for itself pretty quickly.
If
you're writing shows and stuff for high schools and whatever.
A fateful moment.
We would just both share Tyler's computer because I didn't have Sibelius or virtual drumline, so we'd have to take turns. But we literally shared a bedroom, so it'd just be like, hey, whenever you're done, let me know, and then we would.
That was probably honestly pretty incredibly efficient because predates a lot of the like digital storage and like cloud and like just trying to send email files and upload your Sibelius files and stuff. And then the transpose when you try to like, But
Yeah, that is our life right now for sure.
you saying that the timpani spot in Crossman remind me. I think Matt told me the stories, but did you play timpani at Phantom in 2010?
I did. Yeah, I played timpani all 5 years. Crossman for 2 years, Phantom for 3 years. So aged out in 2000.
How's
remember that
moving those
'cause-
around?
Oh God.
Yeah, we that's the pit has changed in a lot of ways since I marched, but hauling the equipment around, that's always going to be there. So
Oh yeah, no way around it.
That timpani lead in after the quad solo in 2010 is one of my, and I think he said that, I remember Matt saying that you just put that in or something.
yeah, I remember like Paul back in those days, and he still probably does this a little bit, but Paul Rennick would write things just sort of on the fly, or he'd know what rhythm, and we'd kind of workshop the around, and yeah, he was just like, "Can you play the end of that?" And I did it, and I didn't mess it up because that would have been the end of it. If I mess it up, he was like, "Never mind." But
You get one shot, and if you don't nail it the first time, we're not wasting time on it. That's hilarious.
I just remember him saying like, "Hey, there's a 5-lit right at the end of the quad break. Can you play that?" And you were just like, "Yeah." You literally just said yes, and then you added it down the drums. It's like, oh, great,
Perfect.
I love that. That honestly, that timpani run kind of encapsulates that entire moment for me. And I always hear it in my head.
Cool. Not the quad break. Thanks, Evan.
No, the quad break was not. Yeah,
Quad break was
it's like
great,
Paul's good
but
at this whole thing or something.
Quad break was great. Don't get me wrong, but you just got to have that cherry on top that like finishes the phrase.
For sure. Yeah. That's what I'm here for.
All right. So Phantom this year.
Well, you guys, real quick, you both wrote and arranged at Music City Drum and Bugle Corps for 2 years. Was that your all's first like DCI gig together?
Yeah, we'd been teaching together at Vanguard.
Writing gig, I guess, yeah.
For a long time, and then that was the first writing gig. Matt kind of has the origin story of that one.
2019 was our first year actually at Music City.
Okay.
And we also were writing. We started writing at Guardians, that I believe, right into 2019. Mm-hmm. So we kind of were writing one open class show, one world class show together for all 3 of those years. I guess 4 if you include the COVID year. We ended up reusing the show, but yeah, it's technically 4 years for both of those places.
Nice.
Yeah, that's like where I feel like where we learned, really like got our chops. Just like writing more than one drum corps show first of all, and like being on those design meetings, but also just like the chops of like how many more changes you have to be doing live, and nothing compared to writing the high school shows that we thought we were like, oh, we can do this, and then you're just like, oh wait, we need to be active like every day, and we need to be way more involved and aware than I previously thought.
Yeah, I can't imagine, because just dealing with like high school changes and stuff versus like the length of show and drum corps is way longer, and like oh, this doesn't work, so we're gonna change it today and we need it by tomorrow. All right, here we go.
The timelines for sure is the main difference. Like, hey, we have a rehearsal day tomorrow, and then we have 3 show days, so you have to do it right now. And you're like, okay, yeah, cool. I guess you're right, because there's no other option.
So Tyler, we talked a little bit before the recording, but just kind of take us through, the differences right out the bat for 2024 with year 2 versus year 1. It's your all second year with Phantom Regiment as an admin, as a design team, with JD Shaw, Drill Rangers. Kind of how much more improved was that for you guys, just being a vet of Phantom Regiment on the design side of things?
Yeah, I mean, so JD, of course, was at Vanguard many of the years. I'd say most of the years that we taught there, and so we have a good familiarity with his style of writing. And the good thing about JD is that he's very fast. So once we decide on something, I mean, he has it to you like the very next day, and we just kind of keep workshopping it. But yeah, the whole design team, Tony Hall, Stephen Estudillo, Blake Dutton, Matt, and I. It felt just super easy. I mean, it felt that way in 2023 as well. But we kind of came in a little bit when that process had already started, so we didn't have as much influence probably over that design. But yeah, this year it just felt like we had a big design meeting in Indianapolis where we stayed in a big Airbnb for a few days and just really fleshed it out. We took a very methodical approach to the design, and I think you can see it in the show. It's super coordinated, and it was a great experience.
All the moving parts are extremely well integrated.
Totally.
It flows very well. The moments build really well and climax together, and everything works well together. It's awesome.
So you mentioned like
not to mention John Kammerer too. He's the sound designer. He lives out in LA. He's just a phenomenal musician and mind for this activity. So
yes, sound design has become so huge in the
Oh.
marching arts activity. But so Matt, so he was mentioning like the Airbnb, kind of the design hunker down. Is that when you guys started to pick out the show or music, or like did you guys kind of have a piece of music within the repertoire that you knew you wanted, and then kind of find things around that? Or what was the winter process for you guys picking out the music? Was it a visual concept and then the music, or what?
It was a kind of a combination. Once we all met together, some of the main lead designers, which are Steven and JD and Tony, had already talked coming into the meeting and had shared some things. And so like right when we met, JD said kind of like, check out this YouTube video of this piece. I think this would be really cool. And Steven had said like, check out this dance video actually that kind of incorporated a prop similar to what we ended up using. He was like, I don't know, this just seems like an awesome idea. And then, so they were all kind of separate things. So I guess to answer your question, more the second option, it's like, we had a couple pillars, like everyone was like, oh, this is so cool. Oh, that dance video is amazing. But that's like 2 things of the 20 elements, like we ended up. And I guess to answer the question for me and Tyler, yes, we talk enough that we kind of have a running list of like pieces that we know we want to use somehow, some way. And one that was always on our list was Pillar 3 by Andy Kehoe, which was the second drum break. So like that had come up even like maybe the previous 2 or 3 seasons going to Music City, like something we discussed, and it just seemed like, okay, now it's based on the different like parts of the mind we were planning to explore. One of them was like losing my mind or going crazy, and Tyler like right away was like, oh my gosh, Andy Kehoe would be perfect for that because it's so eclectic and so like scatterbrained. It would like reflect this perfectly. So that happened like I think that first day. We were like, okay, we know one piece we're going to use,
That's always good when you can find kind of that cornerstone of like, whether it's your ballad or your drum feature, your closer, like how you want to finish the show, and then you can start to kind of piecemeal things around that and like, oh, this works, this doesn't work. Yeah,
I think the first thing JD played for us was that Moonlight Sonata. It was like some different arrangement of it that was way more epic, but it was Moonlight Sonata, so it was like, okay, we know we're gonna end the show that way. That was like one of the first things we did. We know this could be a great ending, and we'll figure out how to get here because it'll be effective,
Yeah, that Accelerando, like right off the bat. So when you guys are kind of storyboarding the show, and I'll hop back over to Tyler here, are they saying like, hey, we kind of have this flow, we'd really like to start it off with the front and then have a percussion moment up front? Or how does the beginning and the process of that like order of events start to take place for you guys?
Yeah, I think with this particular show, Moonlight Sonata kind of lent itself to the front ensemble. Originally, we had talked about another piece, a movie soundtrack sort of thing that had that Accelerando in it that just kind of started slow and churned the whole time.
What is it? I'm just kidding.
We're keeping that one in the back pocket. We might use it. But yeah, so that idea, we didn't end up using that music, and so I just really was drawn to that idea of getting faster. And so with something as simple as Moonlight Sonata, where it's just quarter notes and dotted half notes, it kind of really worked well. And then just based off of that, we knew it was going to start with a little bit of the front ensemble. And in this day and age of DCI, if you get a moment, you got to make the most of it. So we ended up just kind of crafting this classical sounding thing that builds in intensity and it shows off a huge variety of skills right off the bat for the pit. And then we were lobbying super hard to go to a drum break of some sort after the intro. And we got our wish. I think originally, Matt, you might be able to correct me, but I think we were trying to get pillars into that spot originally. And then it just kind of wasn't working with the flow of the show. And then we came across surfacing, which Dave Hall, he works with the Blue Coats. He's a professor, Dr. Dave Hall at the University of North Texas. I've been a fan of his music for years. I've played it with my own percussion ensembles, and I just kind of was listening to his category of pieces, and surfacing just kind of jumped right out of me, and
Nice.
it ended up being a good vehicle for us for that snare break. right off the bat.
Nice. Well, let's get into that. That's a good segue. You know, we're talking about it. We're talking about the pieces. You know, obviously we want to listen to it. Big shout out while we're here to Robert Martinez and George Collins and the Drum Corps Coffee Shop guys. This percussion ensemble video that he put together is just such a huge gift to the members, a huge gift to the designers, and obviously a huge gift to us, the fans, to be able to enjoy this quality. But yeah, we'll check out this the beginning and stuff, and we can listen to it. Then if you want to pause or rewind and talk about some of that stuff, just feel free to jump in.
So real quick before we do that, actually, I have two nuts and bolts questions about the personnel of the ensemble last year for in year one versus year two. We were talking a little bit about this offline as we were setting up, but obviously you guys were good last year in your first year, but anyone that would watch the 2 years, two groups at the end of the season would probably say like the level of achievement and the demand of what they were doing was noticeably higher and cleaner, I guess, at the end of this year. What was the retention like from year one to year two in the membership in Percussion Land, I guess?
It was pretty strong. The players that we developed sort of that were new to us in 2023, we had a lot of them continue with us into 2024. There was also a lot of kids still in the group that marched in Music City in 2022 or 2021 even. So we've sort of had the same core group of players for a number of years now, and you know, really it's about finding those core players that are going to be your people and building around them. And so I think after 2023 we had a better idea of who those people were, and we knew who to look for to complement them and to really build the group. So we also had a totally different strategy for auditions that worked really well for us, you know, just more satellite auditions, things like that. Because not everybody wants to come to Rockford in January. So.
Yeah, it's pretty much in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, isn't it?
Yeah, Wisconsin. It's right up there near Wisconsin. It's about an hour and a half outside of Chicago.
All right, let's just speak. Go ahead.
I one time watched the 2006 Phantom Regiment drumline in Beloit, Wisconsin.
Oh yeah,
that's random.
Sometimes we rehearse in Beloit, yeah, which I like because they have spotted cow there.
Yes, they do.
Well, that's awesome to hear. It speaks to the culture you all are building and have put together up to this point already. And last quick question, how many age outs did you all have this year? Because we speculated on this in our reaction video to you all, or in our season wrap-up video.
I think we came to the conclusion of 6.
Yeah, I think it was 6. I mean, what you said was true. I think it was that picture. I heard someone send me your clip. It was the people from that picture.
That's insane.
Yeah. Well, it was like it wasn't like the oldest group. We really pride ourselves, like Tyler said, on like the retention they had from the previous years, and we're cultivating these members and teaching them over many years, going back, you know, to Music City. So we've had this, like, we just kind of call it the same group because it feels like the same group because we've had the same instructional team for like this was like the 4th year in a row almost. It feels like we have essentially everyone's the same, and going into next year we expect it to be the same. So that's what's really the big game changer, is just having that consistency.
Well, with so few age outs, everybody can. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just enforcing it's the fact that you're getting the same kids with the same instructors, like what you're saying. It's not just the instructors. It's like that we have both things coming back at the same time over many years.
Yeah, you've got membership consistency and instructional consistency. It's a recipe for success. So basically, 6 age outs. If everybody can end up coming back, because we all know life happens sometimes. Congratulations on your drum trophy. So next season. All right, let's jump into this. All right.
Phantom Regiment. Mind with a Y.
Always nerve-wracking to start with electronics right off the bat. Hoping they work, you know.
Oh,
roll the dice.
This was one of our age outs, this piano soloist here. We will miss her dearly. She had some big moments in both last year and this year's show. Always will.
Finding members that can not only, you know, play keyboard and synthesizer well as musicians, but also navigate the electronical aspects is that's huge. I love this angle of front ensembles too.
Yeah, this was just the Beethoven kind of arpeggiating and just trying to find cool patterns. That trill right there, I wrote that first and kind of went back and it led to that moment.
So pause real quick then before we get into battery mode. So you said you wrote the trill first. Were you just like listening to the source material and like latched onto that and you're like, ooh, okay, I know I want to do this.
Yeah, I'm always looking for a way to end a phrase because that's kind of what you're left with. And so I just kind of remember playing Moonlight Sonata, just kind of looping the chord progression and messing around a little bit. And I'm not a very good player anymore, so I can only do so many things. But yeah, I noticed that little trill there sounded pretty good, and so I wrote a super fast rhythm. They actually are playing 16-note fivelets, but it's hard to get that rhythmic clarity there. But yeah, it's super exposed and super authentic, I think, to the source material.
Yeah, beautiful movement too. Just lyrically moving with the vibes and the woods. So
yeah.
The voice too, the operatic.
Yeah, that voice is actually JD's daughter live.
Wow.
Recorded it. Yeah, our sound designer John went and recorded her, and then that's what he produced into. Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Those singles are fast. Dude, I just love the combo of the vocals with the battery music.
Does she sing like professionally?
She's I think she's in college now, but
pause it for a second.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we'll get a tidbit before we hit this moment. So she's in college, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, and so she's got a great operatic, almost sort of voice, and yeah, this John, our sound designer, flew out to South Carolina, where JD, he's a professor at University of South Carolina, and they recorded that in a couple days, and we had all these variations of it, and we just kind of peppered it in throughout the show and places. We use it again at the very end, and it really gives it kind of a witchy quality, which is cool. It gives it a dark
or something there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That if I can say something about that opening battery thing, it's interesting to just hear it on its own, I guess, without the horns. But like one of the biggest lessons that I learned from 2023 going to 2024 was like how loud the horn line's gonna play. If I'm being transparent, yeah, that was like a huge conversation in 2023 between me and JD and Tyler. Who's just like, yeah, Matt, writing super cool. Sometimes you just got to play loud. You just got to get used to doing that.
Just ram some notes
to be
sometimes.
Completely transparent. That was like a lot of feedback that I got from 2023, and I was thinking, okay, that is a huge focus point for me. I need to write more vertical alignment. We need to make sure we're cutting through the horns because it helps the full ensemble.
Right.
So I was writing all these vertical things, huge fortissimo, very obvious, huge rhythms, thinking we're going to be behind the horn line. And then Steven Estadio came out with the drill, and we're like on diamond in front of the whole horn line, which I was just like, oh, even better. But that was like the intention of the whole moment. 7 months before the drill's written was just like, okay, we have to make sure we cut these rim thuds through the horns. And then it turned into like, oh, I guess this can be a drumline feature. Cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Perfect.
Even better.
Well, we're already ramming notes, so it works
for
out.
all the space, but that was not really the intention, to be honest.
That's awesome.
Now we're getting ready to get into that kind of first percussion battery feature here too. Add-ins.
Load vibes in front.
Oh, the cascading metals with the singles. I don't think I caught that the first time.
So I'll point something out really fast. I don't know if this probably was intentional, but a lot of battery moments just build the whole time. That I like that one that we just watched there a ton because it builds and then it kind of is almost like a curve, like a sine curve or whatever. It builds, then it comes back down again and then rebuilds even louder before just to build, like it almost fakes you out a little bit, Was that like the intent there? Or did it?
Yeah, that was actually the whole like impetus of this. We're going back to the design. We were kind of trying to find different like states of mind to explore. This one was actually originally thought to be inspired by mind bending was the term we used. So yes, quite literally, we were trying to find a way to like emulate bending. That's the whole metric decel XL. Actually, similar to what Tyler said about the trill, the very first thing I wrote was just like, well, I know that the snare break needs to have like a metric decel into a shell to simulate bending, because that's the most obvious way I can think of to do it musically. And then I wrote all the stuff beforehand and after that. So we knew there'd be a dip right in the middle of it like that.
Nice. Well, hit the nail on the head there, I guess.
The source material we use is I think something that you'll come to find from us is that we really seek out source material and we use it pretty authentically in the music. So if you were to go back and listen to this Dave Hall piece, it sounds like this, you know. We do some things that we have to do to make it work for our purposes, but yeah, same with Pillars later on. I mean, it's very true to the source.
I think that is a good nugget for anybody that's designers and like, you know, whether it's brass, percussion, whatever, winds, whatever the case is, like you like the piece because you like the piece.
You chose it for a reason, right?
You chose it for a reason. So don't get too crazy with like trying to like make it like tricked out. I mean, obviously
your
you
own,
have to
for
have some
example.
tricks, but yeah.
Yeah, and the hard part is adapting it to our avenue and just keeping the authenticity and keeping the character of it that you liked in the first place. You know, there have been plenty of times where we've written something and okay, that we sort of just sucked the life out of it by doing this to it. But obviously, you know, when you do it enough times, you get some home runs in there too. So
for sure.
I love that little hiccup. I love the hiccup in there in the middle of that phrase.
Yeah, so we can talk about, I mean, that was just another thing that was supposed to like the bending was like, me and the caption head Cheese messaged back and forth over the course of like a month trying to figure out like, okay, what's a way we can emulate bending other than just doing the metric decel? Like, cool, we're going to do that, but we got to do it again. And we came up with that rudiment. What's a rudiment we can bend? And he came up with that, like, I don't even know what we call it, you know, like the right, left with the flams. And if you open that up, it creates that rhythm. So we're playing the exact same sticking, and we just moved our left hand over and figured out a way to notate it into a rhythm. But the right hand kind of stays the same. So maybe that didn't come across quite as obvious, but it all stemmed from that same idea. It's like, how many different ways can we portray bending? So bending a rudiment, bending the rhythm, and something like that. And then we just leaned in on that at the end with the battery feature.
So it almost went from like a Swiss Army like to like a morphed hair that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with like the two lefts, so it's a little bit different, but yeah, it was like a Herta variation.
That reminds me of what Jim Casella did in 04 Scheherazade, where they did instead of like the straight they intentionally morphed the rhythms like it almost made it like a 4/3 in the middle of that Scheherazade piece, but. Just hearing you say that, I was like, oh, that.
Yeah, that is the same. I didn't think about that, but
not intentionally.
In that year, not intentionally. I do that drum line though. I probably listened to it so many times I didn't even realize that I was trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. I love barrel drums.
This segment, we were really going for like a running through your mind or racing thoughts sort of vibe. So as you watch this next thing, that's conceptually where we were headed, and we use a lot of runs, fast rhythms, really quick tempo changes, things like that.
Yeah, definitely does have a very like fleeting feel to it.
we did a better job too of just staying out of the way of the brass, just kind of creating more space for them, more space for us, and working with each other a little bit more in this show. So all this silence here is flurries of 16 notes from the brass.
Sometimes you just got to get out of the way in the dome.
Yeah, learned that lesson as well. Paradiddle diddle 5-lit.
Runs.
Yeah, run. I knew I had to do a big run with the running box, racing box. And we were pretty intentional about writing less battery stuff in this moment because we knew we wanted to show off that fast vertical alignment and
Yeah, pause it for a sec. Sure. It just makes me think. It's just worth talking about that. Literally, that section that we just went through, like Tyler was talking about, where the pit's playing a long run, is an example of like another lesson that I would say would be worth it for most arrangers, especially if you're younger. Is like, I had written tons of triplet rolls. We had all these tap fives. We had all these singles in the section when I just wrote the music straight up. And then we got the drill and we're like on the back hash supporting the horns, completely not a feature at all. And we literally, as soon as we learned that day we learned that drill, I came into spring training and we changed it all. And it had nothing to do with we couldn't achieve it. I was just like, we're playing for the activity and I don't need to spend an extra 20 hours just cleaning these things that you literally won't hear except for in the lot. We just needed to make sure we could play it in time and be really accurate and make sure the pit could play that run really well. And it was just like, oh, easy decision. And you explained it to the players in a way that's like, this is helping the drum corps. We all get it. And we have a feature coming up right after this.
Yeah.
It makes the most sense. You know what I mean? But
Definitely.
It's easier to subtract than it is to add all those rolls halfway through spring training. So I'm always just writing, assuming we're going to be in the front of the front hash. And then it's easier to just get away from it, you know?
Yep. Definitely one of those just do our job moments.
100%. And then right here, he made the drill so we come up through the horn line right in this moment.
Really good one count rolls.
A lot of that front stuff too, like those ostinatos kind of like supporting the battery there. It felt like dun, 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 while they're playing a little bit more spacious for the drums to speak.
Vocals are back.
Yeah, this piece is it's called Equilibrium, and this is actually the last part of the show and this part of the show. Obviously, this Moonlight Sonata stuff here was not a part of it. We added that in.
Kind of keep the motif going.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Pause real quick, Mike. Just a lot of the things that you can do with the concept of the mind and like your mind, like waking up in the morning and getting going, or like you were talking about, like those kind of just like breaks and like hiccups in the rhythms where you're just like squirrel, like, I don't know, distracted by something, or your mind's just like racing and like it's like building up with like anxiety or just like energy either way. So that's really, really cool to hear.
And we could do Mind too next year. We had so many ideas, but
well, drum corps haven't had the most success doing part twos.
Yeah, we know to not step in that hole. So
I was a part of one of those part twos, and it did not work well.
Somebody else learned that lesson, so you don't have to.
Yeah. Was it fail fast so you can learn quick or something like that?
One thing I wanted to make sure we did in this part was use the wingspan of these marimba players. I think this might be the first time ever all the marimba players have been over 6 feet tall. It just kind of happened that way. And so
all right.
We knew that they could do that, and we totally used that skill as much as we could throughout this part of the show.
Yeah, why not?
Vertically blessed.
Yep.
Totally, yeah.
Vertically blessed.
Slowly sneaking the timpani back into the Phantom Regiment.
One.
timpani is such a great instrument, though. I mean,
Totally, yeah.
It adds so
It
much
doesn't-
to the soundscape of the
it has such
ensemble.
an epic sound to it. Like,
Yeah. When we end up playing so much symphonic music, it's like it's in the source material. It just makes sense to have it, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, I get why high schools may not want to do it and like put some of that stuff in the synthesizer for like space reasons and just logistics, but
The way that Maddie kind of started this quad break of the ballad was awesome. Love it.
Thank you for writing Egg Beaters, by the way.
Let's talk about that rudiment for a second.
The Egg Beater, or what they just played at the end of
No,
that?
just like I wouldn't call it an egg beater. This is like that one measure where I did that in the quads. I mean, it is, I guess, a form of an egg beater, but I'm trying to think about it in the form of like a 9-lit. We have, like a 3 and then a 7-stroke. So,
Yeah.
A grouping of 3. I guess you could call it an extended egg beater. I never thought about it that way.
Or it's like an egg
I've,
beater roll.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it. That's a much better way to describe it. Egg beater roll.
Isn't a deviled egg something too? It's like it's an egg beater.
it's a
with
grouping of 7, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2, 2.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like a grouping of 9.
So no one has a name for grouping of 9?
No. So we have the
yeah.
egg beater, we have the deviled egg, and then what are we
The
gonna
egg
call
roll.
it? The egg
We'll
roll.
call it-
Rolled egg.
The egg roll.
The egg
Egg
roll.
roll.
Oh yeah, egg roll. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's food, and actually it is yeah.
I
There
mean,
it is,
everything
everybody.
everything else is food, like cheeses. And
It
We
has
just
to
made
be food, yeah.
we just made up a hybrid rudiment live. Well, not live, but in the middle of a recording. So it's now called an egg roll, everybody. 3, 2, 2, 2.
Well, I just wanted to say that's like that was the speaking of not writing in front to back, like it seems like we're saying every section show. That was the very first measure I wrote, the squad break, because that is like this weird little pattern I've just been playing since I was probably like 18 years old. I always thought that was so cool feeling, and I remember thinking like, I have to use this at the right time. And I knew these squad drummers from going to camp, and I remember I experimented with it at one of the camps, and they could do it like right away, and I was like, this is it, I got to put that in. It's just been like a thing I wanted to do, and I knew it could kind of fit at this tempo, so that was the first measure. It was 7 of 20, and I figured out how to like lead into that and make it make sense and come out of it. Same thing at the singles at the end. I remember I was like, oh my god, you can kind of do this right hand crossover thing. It's kind of like every quad drummer has probably messed around with doing that. And it was like, finally, I could write a quad break. It was at the right tempo to do it. It doesn't really work at 180. It's a little too slow. So this slower tempo, you could do it at the right tempo. And I think I wrote like the first version I sent to Tyler, the quad break. Those last 2 bars were like set in stone from the very beginning. It's like, no matter what we do before this, I want to end it with the Spock thing and these singles. Because it's just like, I'll never write another quad break at this tempo,
Let's get it again then.
Yeah, I'm backing up right now with the arrow keys for my critics out there. And you heard it here first. It's called an egg roll, everybody.
Yeah, that one. Egg rolls it is.
Yep.
Yeah, this measure. Literally,
Pause.
I taught it to them by rote. I taught it to them by rote at camp to make sure they could do it, and I made them play it down the line. I'll never forget. I was just teaching quad subs, and they all did it like in the first day, and I was like, okay, now I feel confident writing this in the quad break next week. And they were like, no way, and I was like, yep, it's in.
Yep, it's in. You did it too well.
None of this is intentional, but it's just like my DCI nostalgia is kicking in. Like the beginning of that with like the drum for over the spot drum just like gives me like callbacks to the Star 93.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like I don't know, but so I'm just a drum lick
You're
library.
the resident drum corps historian over here.
No, that's Kevin Thornburn though. Actually,
Yeah, no, that's Father Chops. That's Kevin Thornburn's Father Chops.
Father Chops with the lick library in his head.
That's a whole inside joke from WGI at our Airbnb last year.
He's like, do you know this lick? I'm like, no. He's like, do you know this? I'm like, no.
No, we don't know any of these licks, Kevin.
All right. Anyway, back to Phantom.
Yes, this is a big brass feature moment, big duet happening. But we still managed to get our licks in here. Cool stuff.
There's so many just like vibe changes, like feel changes in this show, like just themes, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and really, Matt and I were sort of hesitant about this part of the show going into it. It was so stylistically different than what we felt we'd been doing, and JD, he was right all along. It ended up being totally wrong.
Is this the fly or die piece?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is definitely a different vibe than the rest of the show, but it's refreshing.
It's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, we could show off the drum set player. He's one of those kids that's been with us since 2021, maybe, Music City. So, you know, in Phantom Regiment, he doesn't get too many moments to really lay down his groove. So this is a good moment for him.
Yeah, there he goes. Mason always performing.
Pause. And so I'm going to relate this to, before we get back into another style change, but you know, you were talking about this is a different vibe than the rest of the tune, but it reminded me of something that, you know, our high school drill writer says. We use this like understudy program where we like give certain kids that are new an opportunity, and we put them in towards like the back half of the show. It also prevents us from having holes because we have extra kids. But everybody makes it in the show eventually. But what he loves about it is that for like the last 2/3 of the show, he has more numbers. So it forces him to make different pictures because he has new numbers. So something like that, what you were just talking about, like this is a different style. Do you feel like it forced you to use more variety or just different variety? Because like I can't do what I was just doing because this has a whole new feel to it.
Tempo
Oh, yeah,
wise,
absolutely.
yeah. We were super
I mean-
into the tempo because we knew it would give us a whole nother grouping of skill sets we could show off. So
Yeah, I mean, certainly the tempo helped me, like I just said, for the quad break, discover all these new rudiments that I've always wanted to write. I was like, oh, thank God, this is a new tempo. But also, it one of the difficult parts of this arranging this movement for me was I also am usually writing the drum set part. So I'm writing like a marching drum set part and then a drum set part, and I'm trying to make them not to be too vertical. There's got to be some interaction, and it really made me stretch and find new ways. And all those different sound effects and the snares are just like keep it interesting without it just being like a copy paste of the groove. Because really, the drum set part was what I wrote first. That's the important part to the groove or to the style, and then like expanding it out into the battery but still keep it interesting was tough for me. This movement is the one that took me the longest to write for sure, and the most little edits to get it right.
Yeah, there's just a lot more like, you know, jazz or upbeat feel, more dampening or like timbre work with the implements, which that for me too. So this will be kind of directed to Tyler. I always like, I've written some high school battery books, but you know, you have 3 voices and the implements can change, you know, with like puffies or like, you know, if you want to use piccolo sticks, but not drastically. Like, but the front ensemble with like what you have to your disposal with like, what mallets do I want to use? Do I want to use this in the vibes, this in the front? Do I want to use like this on the xylo? Like there's so many like options. Do you feel like you start with like something more basic as far as we'll use this, and then like, I think I'd rather hear this stick out more? What's the process behind that?
yeah, I mean, first of all, shout out to Innovative Percussion because they help us get any sound that we want. I mean, our mind is really the only limitation there of what we can sound like.
Heyo, mind.
Oh yeah, yeah. But you know, we have a certain subset of mallets that we're really comfortable with. That I got to know really well when I was teaching at Vanguard, and a lot of them are the Sandy Rennick series of innovative mallets, and then you know, just different glockenspiel xylo mallets that I've come to trust over the years. And generally, we don't make even a big deal about the mallet choice until we get in the instruments wired up and we hear it the first time through the speakers, because that always dictates a little bit. But I think for us too, we want to make sure that acoustically, when you're standing in front of the group, it sounds right. You know, we're not relying on the sound system to make something sound right. We want it to sound right on the field. So the sticks that we ended up using really just kind of fit both of those worlds. It sounds great up front, and then we can amplify that, and it still sounds that same level of clear upstairs.
Makes sense. Makes total sense. I love that too. What you said about, we want it to sound right on the field. I mean, I think that's huge too for anyone out there that's just with a high school group or something. Like, don't rely on the sound. Just let it enhance what you're already doing. So,
totally.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Check out the Barbie.
The beginning of that Pillars movement.
So it ended up at the end of the show. You all were saying trying to make it work at the beginning.
Yeah.
Opportunity to feature the bass drums a bit.
Is that Rudiment again?
Oh, that was a different one. I don't know what to call that one either.
Well, not the 3, not the egg roll. That was like the hiccup Rudiment.
No, it was different actually. It's like a rough. I would call it rough, like a right, left, left, right, like a little putted out rough, and you just only accent the left. But you're still playing like putted out, stick it da da, stick it da da, or if you'd play like a herta, but you diddle the second note and you kind of split it out.
Yeah, I've actually.
That's what it was. Yeah.
I was figuring that out actually yesterday. It's a right, left, left, right, isn't it? But you accent the left,
exactly.
like you almost like your right just keeps going, and you just kind of throw the double left in accented.
Yeah, it was like one of those things where you write in score only crescendo your left hand, because you just want the accents to stick out. It was one of those.
It's almost like the blue cheese.
A little bit, yeah, similar. I've actually messed around with what you're just talking about before, just in my own hacking. It's fun to play.
Good management of the space.
Mm-hmm.
The front feels just very angsty underneath.
Yeah, so this is like that whole minute is an example of Tyler was talking about, where like almost all those rhythms that I used are like directly from the original piece. You know what I mean? Like even that triplet rhythm where we're going is like that's an exact 2 bars from the piece. Obviously, there's not battery instruments. Although Andy Kehoe did march drum corps, so he has a lot of battery influence. He marched cadets, so like you can tell what he meant, and I kind of just tried to, expand that out into the battery. But literally using like high and low sounds exactly like he did in the original piece. Not to discredit myself, but like it wasn't my idea. That was Andy's idea, and I'm just like finding a way to make it cool on the field. But I just took the same rhythm, same everything, and then like find cool interplay or rudiments to fit in between the accents that were already there in the piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
that's fun in its own right.
It's an hour long, like Pillars, so we had to.
Holy crap!
Yeah, it's a lot of music, so we only got to really show you 45 seconds of it, but so we had to really pare down a lot of what we're doing, but we wanted to make sure we got that fugue in there with the marimbas and vibes at the beginning, and that was sort of the first thing we got out there, and then I sent it to Matt, and he got the bass drum feature kind of started, and yeah, this part of the show, a lot like Fly or Die, changed quite a bit, and until we got it kind of to its final form right before move-ins.
Nice.
Very, very. It's a lot of cool stuff. Just interplay back and forth.
Keyboard run, I was sort of inspired by like that. A different part of Moonlight Sonata. If you listen to the whole thing, there's a really fast 16-note segment, and that kind of led us to that run at the end. One more big moment for the kids.
I didn't realize how many egg beaters there were in this show too.
It has turned into one of my favorite rudiments.
It is my favorite rudiment, so
It feels so good.
I appreciate it.
Especially
Nobody
like
really writes them.
faster 180 tempo. Yeah, it feels. it's like just slow enough at like the 180, 186 tempo that you can like really feel it out and feel and hear it when it's super clean.
Yep.
Are you writing them in like five-lit rhythms, like 5/5?
Like landing on the downbeats at this
Yeah.
tempo is
Yes,
the way
yeah.
that they felt the
Yeah.
best here. Yeah. Some of this music was my favorite to write with this closer music. I guess I'm contradicting myself from earlier because we are behind the horns, but I didn't change almost any of this stuff because I liked it so much.
That's the end of the show.
This was
Do
like
what you want.
yeah, this was like I wanted to see them working, like I wanted you to visually see them working hard even though you might not be able to hear it all.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be like looking big and open. It needed to look fast while they march fast, like classic drum corps ending.
Right.
And it wasn't like something we really had to work on all the time because they kind of figured it out quickly because it felt right. And we're like, oh, okay, this is cool. We can leave it. And that's good because I love this part. It's like kind of my first draft of it was like, oh, this sounds great because it's easier to write to big loud horn line notes.
I mean, it makes sense with like the horns and stuff too. Like what you said, like classic drum corps, like the Z pull, like cadets, just like we're backfield, just ramming notes. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
It's just a vibe.
It just adds all the energy to the end of the show.
That sums it up. It's
Totally.
a vibe.
It's a vibe.
We were going for a vibe.
It's a great vibe. It's like a kick-ass vibe. I mean, that's what.
Unrelated. I'm sorry. It just made me right before this hit. You can hear it in the video where they scream that vocal.
We drink
We
blood.
drink blood. Like from the 06 Phantom thing.
Yep.
That's like where it originated. If you listen to the flow marching video from finals, I swear to God, you can hear them yell it.
Totally,
Like
yeah.
I
All right,
was
well, now I'm
watching-
going to go check this later. So
You need to check it later because I literally paused and rewound it because I was laughing so hard that I could hear that through the flow marching telecast. So nice job, guys, by the way, if you're watching this video.
that's incredible.
Which is crazy because I could not even hear the drum corps at that moment from the
I
stand.
know.
Watching so.
That's incredible.
Dude, yeah. I love that they brought it back too. That vocal's epic.
Yeah. Trying to
Dude, that is like an
make it
eerie
feel like
sound
one.
effect.
Okay, here's the voice again from the beginning. So calling back to that Kehoe Pillars piece a little bit at the end with those like 1E, 2E, those literally, yeah, like the condensed rhythm that we did a bunch earlier.
Dude, when they hit the closer, like the last 30 seconds though, it was just, I mean, the hairs like on your arm like stand up. You're like, man, this is great.
It was drum corps.
Full drum corps. It was drum
just-
corps. Man. I think that's you all were able to capture, like the whole design team was able to capture a great marriage of new school, old school, like what people love with like classic drum corps. I think one of my biggest critiques with some modern drum corps is like you can't sing it when the show is over, but there's so many parts of this show, like the Moonlight Sonata stuff, the references, even the stuff at the end, da, 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 like those stuff with like the pitches where it's dissonant minor and it goes back and forth. You're just like, you can hear it and you're like, I could sing someone Phantom show from this summer. I can't say that about a lot of groups. So
I said it many
think
times.
that
Like it
comes
just.
back-
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say I think that comes back to what we said earlier with we try to find music that has energy and has a certain style, and then we try to make sure that we don't lose any of that when we put it in the show. And I think with this year, the Beethoven was just a great starting place for us, and it has a huge amount of energy in and of itself. And yeah, I think just the authenticity of the music we picked really kind of leads you to that feeling of, oh, this is serious, this is awesome,
It just felt like a drum corps show all season. I said it many times throughout the season to Evan. I was like, this is the only show this year, or one of the only ones really, that I just like, this channels what makes drum corps exciting to watch. Like, this was just a drum corps show with a new school of the activity twist. Like, it had the new elements, like Evan said, but at its core, like, it just felt energetic and just flowed, and it was aggressive and ups and downs. I don't know. It just felt like a drum corps show that I grew up on from like the mid 2000s, and that had enough of that run and gun drum corps in it. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, and shout out too to our educational staff. Jesus Sanchez, who we've called him Cheese, that's his nickname, but man, he really is the driving force behind the kids and how well they play. Me and him, between the two of us, it's mainly him. We're out there the entire summer, so I think he probably took like 6 days off. And then Dan Seiler, batter coordinator, Reed Paxton, front ensemble coordinator. Those guys totally set the tone for the playing that the members do. So shout out.
Yeah,
Nice.
the kids sounded great. Sorry, I hate calling them kids, but I guess I am getting to the age where,
I mean, they
some
are.
of you-
They are.
you know,
Technically, some of them are probably in high school.
some of you could be my kids, from a logistical standpoint of age. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah, actually, yeah.
yeah. So, but the members killed it. I think that what you guys have cooking there at Phantom Regiment is really, really fun. I'm looking forward to 2025. So, hopefully we'll see. I'm sure you're already cooking it up. So
I said it on our last podcast after the season ended. I'll say it again. If I could march next season, I would probably go to Phantom and audition.
We'll see you there.
Come on out.
I'm a little
change
old.
to all age just for you.
DCI all age.
I'm a little old.
No, we're gonna do all age. It's fine.
I can't march anymore. You ever think about sometimes, like, you probably mess with it a little bit being on tour some still, but like, I don't know how I ever crabbed with a drum on, and like, I think back to memories of performing on the field and like running around doing that, and I'm just like, there's no way I did that. Like, thinking about doing it now, I'm like, it would take a while for me to get that coordination back into like my legs and stuff, and maybe it'll be a little bit like riding a bike. Like once I started doing it again, it would come back a little bit, but I couldn't do the all age thing.
We just missed our opportunity to do the Crossman Alumni Corps.
Oh yeah.
But we've got Phantom Alumni Corps coming up 2026. So
That's right.
I didn't do the Blue Coats one. I didn't do the Blue Coats alumni one a couple years ago.
That was awesome.
It was pretty cool. Turned out really well. But
Yeah.
well, it's been about just under an hour. What do you say we wrap this up?
When's the first audition?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know that we totally have that date, but it will be in November. We'll have a few auditions around the country: Indianapolis, Dallas, Atlanta, Chicago area, Rockford, St. Louis, I think. So yeah, and maybe even Southern California. So we're getting out there. But if you're interested, stay tuned. Check the website, and we hope to see you there.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, we talked earlier about like they didn't have a ton of age outs, but like anybody that wants to audition, just go audition. You never know. Like, age outs have things they have to do: school, college, internships, whatever. Just save a little money for the following summer. Just show up.
I mean,
go.
I can say there's never been a time ever in my involvement as drum corps as a member or a staff member that everyone that can come back comes back.
I was about to say that. I don't think I've ever heard of a
it's-
season where that happened.
So it's cool to like talk about that, and it's really special and just an interesting fact that we didn't have a ton of age outs, but it's kind of irrelevant to next season to us because we're kind of just approaching the season like, yeah, we needed a whole new group. Whoever shows up and is the best is going to be the group. If that's a bunch of kids we know, that's great if they play well. But we just want the best people in the group every year. That's what makes the group good.
Yep.
There it is.
All right. Ready to close this out?
Totally.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Comment, like, subscribe, share the video with any Phantom fans you know, and Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, join button right here on YouTube, agedoutpodcast.com. Grab a shirt and or sticker. Aged Out Fundamentals, drum every day, and get ready for those audition camps we were just talking about. And we'll see everybody in the next video.
Peace.